I just got home from work and I'm exhausted. I wonder how much time I actually spend complaining about work, because I feel like I might actually spend more time complaining about work than I do working. I just want to say I'm really sorry, because when you guys start watching this video, halfway through you guys are probably going to be like, what? Because I shot in 2 different locations, and you're probably thinking to yourself, Dakota generally likes shooting in different locations, if you guys have seen my first audition video. But this time it wasn't expected. I was planning on shooting my video all in one spot, and then there was a whole time crunch, and then I had to go to work, and it just became a big, huge mess. So this week's theme, we are talking about 90s fads and things like that. If you guys haven't seen the videos prior to this one, which would be really weird, and if you guys haven't seen those, then you guys need to go check those out. The 90s was filled with a bunch of awesome women, chat rooms, and cartridge video games. I don't know if I'm a freak of nature or something, but I didn't like Power Rangers by any means. All the other people on the channel have already talked about how much they loved Power Rangers. John's video was practically nothing but him ranting about his love for Power Rangers, but that wasn't something that I had ever gotten into. My cousin watched it over and over and over again, and it was something I just couldn't stand. I was absolutely obsessed with TV shows like Hey Arnold, The Simpsons, SpongeBob SquarePants, and definitely Pokemon. Probably the one thing I'll remember most from the 90s is Radio Disney. I loved how they had all of my music on one station, and it was just centered around kids. It was the one station that my parents could listen to with me. We were allowed to listen in the car. Everything was just kid appropriate, kid friendly, and great for the entire family. Can we just talk about, for a second, how happy I am that some of the things in the 90s stayed in the 90s? First off, I'm very glad that those haircuts are in the 90s. I mean, if you walked into any of those places to go wherever you get your hair done, you could see a bunch of horrible, horrible hairstyles. Things like those rat tails and frosted tips and things like that. Those, thankfully, are still in the 90s. Overalls, what were people thinking? Putting one jean material over your entire self. It was horrible, disgusting, bad fashion choice, and I'm ultimately glad that those stayed in the 90s. Last, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from, but I am definitely glad that boy bands stayed in the 90s. I mean, what were people thinking? I did not like any of those boy bands. I still can't tell the difference between NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, and my boyfriend gets horribly angry at me if I accidentally say Justin Timberlake was in the wrong band. Regardless, thank God they stayed in the 90s.